No, not at all. I think it's far from that. And I think Karnataka and Kannada and Bengali shared a very warm, cordial relationship. I would like to say that Kannada and Bengali looked at each other and did not only exchange glances, but they looked very deeply into each other's eyes and marveled at each other's uniqueness and decided to generously give away and take too. And sure of that great reciprocity was Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, so I as a Kannadati remain so indebted to him. I mean, when it comes to literature, music, or even what the French have beautifully put it as amour propre. When Kannadigas were suffering from lack of amour propre because it was colonial India and they felt they had nothing to really feel proud about Kannada language. It was Gurudev Tagore who taught to us, that you have your language, cherish it, write in it. Okay, so many of our poets, our great poets, derived inspiration from Rabindranath Tagore. They addressed him as Gurudeva, and they also learnt Bengali. All of them learnt Bengali, and without the intervention of English, they directly translated from from Bengali into Kannada. And they also met Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, your two famous writers, V. Sitaramaya and Masti Venkatesh Iyengar, who is the recipient of the Gnanapith Award, coming here to Shantiniketan on the 70th birthday of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore to congratulate him. And after that, Masti translates several stories of Tagore. And we have a lady, a very dynamic, extraordinary woman like your Rasasundari Devi, H.V. Savitrama, who learns Bengali. She is autodidactic. She teaches herself Bengali. And then she says, all right, I'm going to translate Gora and Home in the World. I mean, this is something every Kannadika should read. And every Kannada woman must get to know who Sucharita and Lavanya and Lavnita are. Because this is amazing, the kind of, sensitivity with Tagore being the man articulated woman's question, and the rest of the women in the other parts of India should get to know about this. So Gora belongs to Kannada, she said. So all these writers said Tagore is not just Bengali, he is also Kannadiga. In some sense, he belongs to us. So this great man made us feel he is also ours. And so pardon me if I use the Kannada expression, it says Madhura Nantu. It's a glue which is very sweet, which has bound us with the Bengali people. Okay, so I'm here to celebrate that. And from the Kannada heartland, I would like to pay a warm musical tribute to Gurudeva by singing a Kannada translation of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's song. By the time I complete singing the song, I'm sure you will all identify what is it in the Bengali original. And if you permit me, I would like to sing the Bengali version also, although I'm super nervous about singing it in Bengali because I'm standing here in Rabindra Bharati among native speakers of Bengali, and just imagine my panic. And my profuse apologies if I end up mispronouncing any of the words in your beautiful language. Please bear with me and at least have some sympathy for a Kannadati who is bravely trying to learn Bengali. So I may be a professor of English studies, but I have a very intense kind of passionate attachment with the discipline of fine arts, particularly music, because I'm a practicing Hindustani Khayal vocalist. I learned from Pandita Kishori Amonkar, and I also write music reviews for the Hindu. I have more than about 150 reviews. There isn't a single Khayal vocalist that I have not interviewed and dialogued and written about. So music, Hindustani classical music is like my mother to me. So, and of course English studies is my discipline. So I think I'm on home turf here in this kind of a multidisciplinary university. It's truly what a university has to be, so which of course many traditional universities aren't. And I would also like to warmly congratulate, you have a lady Vice Chancellor who happens to be the first Lady Vice Chancellor of RBU. In, of course, India, in Bangalore, which claims to be a very progressive cosmopolitan city, it is still a bastion of patriarchy, and we've still not had a Lady Vice Chancellor. And all our women's studies faculty have lost their jobs thanks to some kind of a crazy rule. And so now we only have guest faculty in women's studies. Okay, so much so that we nostalgically think of Tagore and his grand visionary plans for India's women. Okay, so when our nationalists were so drunk with the fiery nationalist rhetoric, it was Tagore who tried to probe the women's question and say, how can we exclude our women? You grand nationalists, you can't think of freedom for India if the women are not emancipated. So time has come for us to cherish these connections. Of course, it has not happened in the bygone century, in the 19th and 20th century. A musician friend of mine tells me about a fellow musician friend who has a band. His name is Ranjan Ghoshal, apparently. And he claims that a ruler, a king called Ballala Sen, ruled over Bengal in 11th or 12th century AD. And apparently his mother tongue was Kannada. And he also wrote 2 poetical works in Kannada. So Bengal and Kannada land had already met back there in 11th or 12th centuries. And another discovery is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's 2 great disciples were Kannadigas. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also knew about the Kannada Sahitya. So we've already met centuries ago. We only need to rediscover these connections. Unfortunately, we have to rediscover them, and the tragic irony is we have to rediscover them through search engines like Google or artificial intelligence when our own connect. And there was no intermediary language like English too, but Kannadigas went and learnt Bengali. And end of the 19th century, before the beginning of the 20th century, it was every Kannada youth's dream to come to Shantiniketan and also get an education in humanities, visual arts and fine arts and the arts. So you have many people coming to Bengal end of 19th century. Among them was Anna Krishnaraya, one of the famous writers of Kannada, who also translated several short stories of Tagore was one. Then we have the great painter Venkatappa, who was called the Masoor of Bengal because his paintings resembled Masoor style of the Mughal era, and so the Kannadigas called him the Masoor of Bengal. And Venkatappa was also a Veena artist. He was also an interdisciplinarian. He was not just a painter, but he was also a Veena artist. And Venkatappa learned, wash techniques and these styles of painting from Abanindranath Tagore. And he goes back to Mysore Darbar, and the Raja of Maharaja is enchanted with this. He says, what is this? They are all appearing somewhat surreal. They are appearing dreamlike, and they have a kind of a translucent, kind of luminous aura upon them. What magic have you created on your canvas? He says that is the beauty of Tagorean style there, and I learned it and picked it all up in Shantiniketan. So today you have the famous Venkatappa Art Gallery in Bangalore, and several painters going ahead in this era of this peculiar wash painting techniques, which was also very Swadeshi because it was very strident in its rejection of Western academic realism, and said that we need to view it differently. So it gives me, it's exhilarating for me to come here and share all this with you, and what Kannadigas did and how they were shaped at every, juncture by this Bengali literary renaissance. I wouldn't be exaggerating, and I don't think it would be hyperbolical if I say the Bengali literary renaissance ignited Kannada cultural consciousness and ushered in Kannada cultural renaissance of sorts. So this is the great interconnectivity and connection that we enjoy between Karnataka and Bengal. So let me pay my tribute to Gurudeva through this song. just a little introduction about the translation of this song of Rabindranath Tagore into Kannada. This was done by a poet called Ananthaswamy. He's not the famous K.S. Ananthaswamy, he's another Ananthaswamy. And it was set to music by the Sugama Sangeet Brahma in Kannada Sahitya called Mysore Ananthaswamy, who set many of the poems of Kannada writers to music. Sugama Sangeet. The Sugama Sangeet genre also flourished in Karnataka, and the impetus came from Tagore in a way. Okay, so they always owe their allegiance to Tagore because the way Bengalis went ahead with Rabindra Sangeet also emboldened Kannadigas to conceptualize about Sugama Sangeet. So it's also connected that one of my famous writers called T.V. Gundappa, who also knew Bengali and who was an ardent disciple of Tagore, says this. He says, in this world, if I look around, he wrote a famous work called Manku Tinmana Kagga, the ramblings of a dim-witted fool, so he says, ಈ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಲು, he says, if I look at this world, ಎಲ್ಲದರ ನಂಟು, everything seems connected to everything. And he says, ಜೀವಕ್ಕೆ ನಂಟು. The animate is connected with the fellow animate things. Inanimate with the fellow inanimate things. Who can actually piece out the threads of this beautiful French braid? He says, it's like the intricate French braid of a woman. He says, you just can't, remove the tangles. You cannot actually disentangle them. So the webs of connectivity are so very intricate that no one can actually disentangle them. And that is how it should be. And he says, so let's not view things in isolation. So I would like to begin on that note. It's only on that note can we say we need to forge alliances. And alliances will strengthen us. And they will also help us to look for a better tomorrow. Okay, so I will just connect with this song. This was set to music by Ananthaswamy. And in the 80s, every school function and the college and the university function, people would begin with this prayer song. Perhaps nothing would be more poignant and more meaningful than this prayerful tribute to Lord Almighty. And it resonated so much with the people of Karnataka, who were at that time in the 70s and 80s under the spell of Ram Manohar Lohia and the famous Gopal Gowda, who was also Lohiite. And so they were thinking of a secular Bhavya Karnataka, where your fellow human beings are your brothers, where this religion will not come and the world has not been broken up into narrow, domestic walls. So this prayer resonated very powerfully in the hearts of all Kannadigas, and as a school-going girl, I learnt this song. And it's in the same tune, so let me try singing it. It has shades of Rag Kedar in it, and I'll try to render this. ವಿಕಸಿತ ಮಾಡಂತೆ ನಿರ್ಮಲನಾಗಿಡು ಉಜ್ವಲ ಮಾಡು ಸುಂದರನಾಗಿಡು ಹೇ ಸುಂದರನಾಗಿಡು ಹೇ ವಿಕಸಿತ ಮಾಡೆನ್ನ ಜಾಗೃತನಾಗಿರು ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡು ಜಾಗೃತನಾಗಿರು ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡು ನಿರ್ಭಯನಾಗಿರು ಹೇ ನಿರ್ಭಯನಾಗಿರು ಹೇ ಸರ್ವಮಂಗಲ ಕೊಡು ನಿರಾಲಸನಾಗಿಡು ಸನ್ಮಂಗಲ ಕೊಡು ನಿರಾಲಸನಾಗಿಡು ಮಹತು ಮಹೀಯನೇ ಮಹತು ಮಹೀಯನೇ ವಿಕಸಿತ ಮಾಡೆನ್ನ ಸರ್ವ ಸೌಗಮನು ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಮಾಡು ಸರ್ವ ಸೌಗಮನು ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಮಾಡು ಮುಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡು ಅನಂತನೇ ಮುಕ್ತಿಯ ಕೊಡು ಅನಂತನೇ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣದಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸು ಚಿತ್ತವ ನಿನ್ನ ಚರಣದಿ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸು ಚಿತ್ತವ ಅಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿಯೇ ಅಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿಯೇ ವಿಕಸಿತ ಮಾಡೆನ್ನ ತಾನವನು. I guess you all know which song this is. I just sang this to illustrate the astounding lexical similarities between Bengali and Kannadiga and Kannada. I think I have a theory that a Kannadiga who knows Hindi can learn Bengali in a matter of 1 week. The Bengali script is, I think, is a bit of a twisted Devanagari, so it might take some effort. And which is why I think our forefathers, all the Gnanapith awardees, Kuvempu, Shivram Karan didn't, but Kuvempu, Dara Bendre, Dattatreya Ramachandra Bendre, and then Masti Venkatesh Iyengar, all of them learnt Bengali. And D. Sitaramaya, they translated Tagore's works directly from Bengali into Kannada. Okay, so which is not undoable at all. So if you see this Vikasita Madenna, so coming here and seeing the Mela yesterday and soaking in this ambience, I felt bold enough, and I'm feeling bold enough and impulsive enough to present the Bengali version. I request you all to bear with me so that it becomes, and I think there are several versions, and there is this version in Sindhu Bhairavi which appealed to me. You know, it's by a band. I'll try singing it. Hope you'll bear with me. Can I sing that? Lexical similarities. Antaravama vikasita karo antara karhe antaravama vikasita karo antara karhe. If I'm wrong somewhere, please correct me. Nirmala karo उज्ज्वल करो निर्भय करो सुंदर करो हे निर्मल करो उज्ज्वल करो सुंदर करो हे अंतर मम विकसित करो karo antara kare. I've never been so self-conscious in my life. I want to complete this song. Yukta karo re sabar sanga mukta karo re bandha. Yukta karo re sabar sanga mukta karo re bandha. Samachar karo sakar kar mein shant tumhare chand. Antara mama vikasita karo antara kare. Charan padme mama sikari sarita karo re. Nandita karo nandita karo nandita karo he. Antara mama vikasita karo antara kare. Vikasita madannatanavanu antaramiye. Kannadiga is not too far behind Bengali. So you see the connections and why I think Tagore had such an immense appeal to Kannadiga was because of this simplicity and because of this expansive kind of humanist vision which spoke to the inner human in them, because in times of sectarianism, fundamentalism, and also strident kind of linguistic chauvinism, he taught Kannadigas about amour propre, but at the same time, Kannadigas also learned a valuable lesson that you should not be a linguistic chauvinist. It's one thing to have pride in your language, but it's another thing to be a chauvinist and then practice this kind of linguistic imperialism and say all of you should learn only this and no other person is allowed. Okay, so we go back to a heritage. The earliest work in Karnataka is called Kaviraja Marga, which belongs to language which can be traced to 5th century. Now there are researchers which say that there are Kannada sentences in a Greek play belonging to 2nd century. Probably some of the Greeks during the time of Alexander must have travelled down here, and they say there were alliances between Greeks and the Kodagu people. And so it seems there are some sentences. I read some very interesting information. One of my friends is working on that. So I'll be able to share more next time when I visit. And so coming back to this, it has a hoary antiquity. Okay, so it's on par with Bengali. We stand on that platform. Ancient languages, and Kannada, there is a stone inscription in a place called Halmidi. Okay, so this Halmidi inscription dates back to 5th century AD. And the next sophisticated literary treatise, it's a critical work. Okay, so it tells you about statecraft, it tells you about finest works of painting, literature, etc. It's a kind of a multidisciplinary work called Kaviraja Marga, written in 9th century AD by a man called Sri Vijaya, who was in the court of a Rashtrakuta king. And so Kaviraja Marga says, how do you recognize a Kannadiga? You recognize a Kannadiga by his tolerance. Tolerance towards other languages, tolerance towards other religions. So he says, let that be our Shruti. He says, that's how a Kannadiga needs to be. But a Kannadiga should be proud of his mother tongue too. Okay, so this is something said and reiterated by none other than the architect of the Kannada Navya movement, our own U.R. Ananthamurthy. Okay, so it was U.R. Ananthamurthy who, in a workshop, told us that, Sri Vijaya's Kaviraja Marga lays stress on tolerance and coexistence, peaceful coexistence. Okay, so this was towards the end of 19th century in colonial India. We Kannada people found ourselves in a very dire state of crisis. What kind of crisis were it? Because we did not have linguistically organized states then, as you know. The linguistic organization upon the basis of languages happened only in 1956. Till then, Karnataka was not Karnataka. So it was under British India, colonial India, it was organized into 4 administrative blocks. Part of the Kannada people came under Chennai presidency. Some of them came under Mumbai presidency. Then there was the mold Mysore, the royal kingdom. You had the Wadeyars, the Mysore people, whom Tagore visited. I'll come to that. Okay, so that was another famous chapter in Tagore's life. Okay, so you had the old Mysore state, you had the Mumbai presidency, you had the Chennai presidency, then you had the, Mumbai presidency was the Dharwad one. Okay, so you had, and then you had the Kodagu one as well. Okay, so the Kodagu presidency. So we were scattered amongst all these blocks, and so it was suggested, according to that Montagu Chelmsford remarks and Montfort report, etc., that India had, it was particularly a Babel Tower of languages, and they had absolutely no method in this madness. So it is better that they organize themselves linguistically around these languages, as Kannada, Telugu, so on, Telangana, and then you have Tamil Nadu, then you have Kerala, Malayalam. So this was proposed, and there was a movement called Karnataka Ekikarana, hoping for the unification of this august Karnataka, which materialized only in 1956. But the seeds of it was sown in 1937. And a little before that, in 1919, Tagore had visited Mysore state, the princely Mysore state, and he had also visited Bangalore. Incidentally, Tagore stayed in Bangalore and he completed his 2 masterpieces in Bangalore, My City. I am proud to say Sheshak Kavita was actually completed in Bangalore. While he was staying in the residence of the then Diwan of Mysore called Balabrui, which was our Chief Minister Devraj Arsu's official residence too. And then there was a Bengali Vice Chancellor to Mysore University. He had invited Tagore. Okay, so Tagore came here, and it is at this juncture, Tagore actually, when he starts writing and he has been the recipient of the Nobel Prize, that kindles an extraordinary kind of enthusiasm among the Kannadigas, who say that yes, when Kannada is also a language, if Bengali can get the Nobel Prize, then Kannada is also a language worthy of actually writing about, and can also merit international acclaim. And they took a circuitous route, which is why interconnectivity always helps. You look to another, and the other can always illuminate you. The other need not destroy you. And one of our famous cultural critics called D.R. Nagaraj says, like sparrows, these Kannada poets collected twigs and leaves from different languages, and major part of the twigs and branches were contributed by Tagore, by also Aurobindo, by all the architects of Bengali literary renaissance, and they wanted to build their nest and reproduce. Okay, so you see this also kindles this, and he says it all seems so contrived, Puttappa. Why don't you look at Tagore? See, that man is writing in Bengali, in his own mother tongue, and he's become a world-class writer. Why don't you write in your own mother tongue, Kannada? So that becomes a turning moment, a revolutionary moment. And there is Bendre, who also says, he taught us, he gave us confidence and that self-reflective self-awareness. Here was Bengal, and this man had achieved something phenomenal. And we were all looking at him, learning Bengali, but coming back to Kannada with renewed passion. I think, I should ask Devabrat, do you have more time, or should I? Yeah, I think so. So with this, I would like to also say that it was not one way around, it was not one-way traffic. I told you about Ravindra Sangeet, how it made its inroads into Karnataka, and also paintings. But then when it also comes to inspiration from Karnataka, Karnataka did not lag behind. Tagore was very moved in his interactions with the princely Mysore state. Particularly the Wadiyar kings were very hospitable, and Tagore delivered his magnificent address, The Message of the Forest, in Mythic Society in Bangalore, which was a historic speech for which the then Bengali Vice Chancellor of Mysore University was present, the Diwan and the Maharaja were present. And Tagore also started his novel Joga Jog in Bangalore while he was actually recuperating from an illness and abandoned his trip to Europe because he didn't have the strength to go on a long voyage. And at that time, to give a royal ovation to Tagore, the Maharaja's band played the Mysore state anthem, which had enchanted and enthralled Tagore. He said, I've listened to other state anthems of other princely kingdoms. They are all, paying encomiastic tributes to their Maharajas. They are praising them sky high. But then this princely state of Mysore has a different kind of an anthem, where it is a paean of praise to the goddess Chamundika Devi, Chamundeshwari, imploring her to protect us and the king too. And this was written by a young scholar who was in the darbar of the king called Basavappa Shastri, who was a formidable, redoubtable Sanskrit scholar, and he composes this state anthem in Sanskrit, and Tagore had listened to it twice. And the tune stayed with Tagore. It was composed in a raga called Dheera Shankarabharanam from Carnatic music. Tagore had greatly admired Muthuswami Dikshitar and Tyagaraja, and through some of his South Indian disciples in Shantiniketan, he studied some of their works too, and marveled at the Venkatamaki classificatory system of Melakartas in Carnatic music, and he had lot of praise for that. And he tried to incorporate, and it stayed with him so much, that Dheera Shankarabharanam, which is, I think it's a slight variant of our beloved rag in Hindustani music. And he uses it. I would like to end with that. And so in Dheera Shankarabharanam, you will not fail to notice once again the similarities between this song and Tagore's Ananda Loke, Mangala Loke. Okay, I'll just... I think the song goes like this. I'll just sing one line of Bengali version. The Bengali version, because Tagore took the inspiration recipient of the Gnanapith Award, who is considered to be the father of the, these are all father figures of the Kannada Navodaya movement, which is called the cultural renaissance, which was basically started by the literary practitioners in Kannada. I quote the famous triumvirate, the literary triumvirate of Kannada, Kuvempu, Kuppalli Venkatappa Puttappa, and Tara Bendre, Dattatreya Ramachandra Bendre, and then Masti Venkatesh Iyengar, and then you also have Gaurish Kakini, Govinda Pai, all of them, V. Sitaramaya, Anakru, all of them disciples of Tagore, and all of them knew Bengali. They were all formidable polyglots. It seems Govinda Pai knew 22 languages, and he's struggling. He has existential kind of questions about what actually constitutes poetry, and he derives a lot of strength from Tagore, who said poetry need not only have rhymes. You can break away from rhymes and rhyme schemes which can be a burden, and you can experiment in blank verse. And you can also choose secular themes. You cannot be mired only in your Hindu identity. So Govinda Pai writes a Khanda Kavya called Golgotha, and he also writes Vaisakhi, and he also translates some of the essays. In fact, there was one T.S. Venkannaya who translated an essay about Kavya Another of Tagore into Kannada, where he talks about all the upekshitas which Tagore, actually talked about. He says Urmila, it could be, Chitrangadai, so many others. So these Kannada poets were drawn towards that. There is Gaurish Kaitini, one of the architects of the Kannada cultural literary renaissance, who writes this long essay about the Upekshita, Patralekha, Anasuya, Priyambada, which made the Navodaya poets experiment in all these unknown heroines and unknown literary figures and bring them to center stage. And many of these efforts, and there was Bendre, who also was the recipient of Gnanapith Award, and in fact he was called Varakavi Bendre. He was a gifted poet, and his mother tongue was Marathi. Okay, so but Bendre wrote in his mother tongue Marathi, but he said Kannada is more dear to me than Marathi. And he was one of our greatest poets and the greatest versifiers. And all these poets wanted to be remembered for musical renditions of their song, for which I think the inspiration came only from Tagore, because long ago that pratha had begun. Thousands of songs of Tagore were sung everywhere, and so Navodaya poets also wanted to reorient themselves within this musical kind of an idiom. Okay, so you see Kuvempu's songs, when Kuvempu wrote, Kuvempu learnt Bengali and he translated essays and poems from Gitanjali. So it was not just Tagore. Kuvempu's enthusiasm comes through in some of these songs, paying his homage to Bengal. Kuvempu says this. I'll just sing 2 lines of that. This is a song where Kuvempu says, at eventide, during the time of sunset and dusk, my mind longs to go on a pilgrimage to Dakshineshwar. And he says, I want to drink from the Panchamrit of Paramahamsa. But he's also a skeptic and a rationalist, and he's not only satisfied with Paramahamsa's companionship. And this is beyond that. I have Narendranath and I have Keshav Chandra Sen, who taught me all about my iconoclastic philosophy. And then he says, I'm a thespian like Girish Ghosh. And he pays tribute to them. Can we listen to this song? I've just set this tune, and so I just want you to see this, how in one canvas Kuvempu pays his tribute to all these Bengali masters who molded him. At eventide, my mind longs to go on a pilgrimage to Dakshineshwar. Sanjayadare tavaki pudu mana Dakshineshwara yatrege. Sanjayadare tavaki pudu mana Dakshineshwara yatrege. Sanjayagalu tavaki pudu mana Dakshineshwara yatrege. Paramahamsara He's not only talking about Paramahamsa, then he says, Atta Keshava Chandra Senana Bhakti Namanava Kanuve. Atta Keshava Chandra Senana Bhakti Namanava Kanuve. Ittamatta Girisha Ghoshana Chandra Chittadi Toyuve. Sanjayagalu tavaki pudu mana Dakshineshwara yatrige. This is my mind wants to soak in that moonlit charm of Girish Ghosh's theatre and Keshav Chandra Sen's philosophical wisdom, and then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's ethereal kind of bhakti. He says Bengal is my nutrient, and come. Vinita, he says, and take this all, and then, but write in my mother tongue, Kannada. So it is his encounter with the Irish theosophist, which enriches him. James Cousins, a young poet who goes with his poem. That's how it goes, right? More or less. I'm not very perfect in my rendition. But then let's see how Kayam Shri Gauri, which is a tribute to goddess Gauri, imploring her to protect the Mysore state and its monarch, goes. Which Tagore, he was galvanized by this song. So he used the same tune for Janaganamana also. So Veera Shankara Bharana, Kannadigas are there to stay. So our invaluable contribution to Tagore's creative canvas came here. Has an interesting addition to it. During the regime of every king, the name would be changed because it's like each of these kings is imploring goddess Janam. So during the time of Jaichamarajendra Odiyar, the last king, before the dissolution of all the princely kingdoms, by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel at that time. So before that, the last king was Jaichamarajendra Odiyar. So it bears the signature identity of Jaichamarajendra Odiyar. Shri Jaya Chamundige, Shri Jaya Chamendra, Shri Jaya Chamundige, Shri Jaya Chamendra, Namakita Bhumi Granayamana Munale, Kayo Shri Gauri, So what I would like to say for all the research students is, inbreeding is dangerous. It is Atmarati. So therefore, cross-fertilization of ideas, intercultural alliances, and the rich interface that exists between our different languages and the cultural continuities which have already been initiated by people, centuries ago, need to be revived. And new connection need to be discovered, rediscovered,